Hi guys and welcome to Fandom Newbie. My name is Shruti and today I'm going to be recommending some of my favorite mystery thriller books. Now, after fantasy, my favorite genre is mysteries and thrillers. And these books which I'm going to be recommending to you guys range from like cozy mysteries to certain fantasy mystery books as well as psychological thrillers. So I'm really excited to share this list with you guys. Let's get started. The first book that I want to talk about is Pride and Premeditation by Tirza Price. Now, as you can tell from the title, this book is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but with a murder mystery twist. So overall, this book follows the same kind of premise as Pride and Prejudice. So you have the same characters, but there is an added mystery element to the story. So in this book, both Lizzie Bennet and Darcy are lawyers, and they are trying to figure out how to solve the same murder case which they've come across. I honestly had so much fun with this book because I love Pride and Prejudice, and to get this like really different and fresh perspective of that story was really fun to read. So if you guys like Pride and Prejudice, if you like the characters from Pride and Prejudice, I think you'll have a lot of fun with this book. The end of this book does get a little bit over dramatic, but overall it's a really fun ride. The next book that I want to talk about is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Now, I've spoken about this book a few times on my channel, and this book isn't exactly like a mystery or thriller, but it has an overall mysterious, creepy vibe throughout the book. So basically, this story follows four friends who spend their summer vacations on a private island that is owned by the families of these four kids. Hi, editing Shruti jumping in here because I think what I said can be a little bit spoilery. So basically, one of the summers on this island, our main character, Cadence, injures her head, and because of that, she loses a lot of her memory. And so when she goes back to the island, the sort of aftermath of her losing her memories and her like sort of figuring out what has happened, that is what this book is about. Through all of this, we get to uncover a lot of secrets of the family, of the families that are involved. And yeah, overall, it's just really mysterious. It's like you don't really know what's going on. You have kind of like an unreliable narrator in this. And so overall, very mysterious vibe. I've recommended this many times on my channel, but if you still haven't read this book, this is your sign to read it. The next book that I want to talk about is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. Now, this book basically follows the Ted Bundy serial killer murder mystery, but it tackles that mystery from the point of view of one of the survivors of a Ted Bundy killing. The premise of this book is that a lot of the different TV shows, movies, documentaries, podcasts that have covered the Ted Bundy case focus on Ted Bundy as a character. Like they focus on Ted Bundy as the main character, and everyone is trying to sort of psychoanalyze him, and they give him a lot of importance because Ted Bundy is known to be this charismatic, bright young man who went down a wrong path and became a serial killer, but actually could have been an amazing lawyer. Like, he's really built up in pop culture to be like this serial killer superstar. But actually, what this book talks about is how he was just an average man. And the reason why he got away with all of his crimes was because of a lot of police inadequacies and the way they bungled up the case. And the real superstars of this entire story were the victims and the survivors and the women whose lives he cut short because of his heinous crimes. And so this book finally gives a voice to these victims, to these survivors. It's a really interesting take on this case, and yeah, it calls out a lot of misogyny of the 70s and 80s in the US, and it's just really well done. And yeah, highly recommend this to whoever is interested in true crime. Next up, we have Sniper's Eye by Mehnak Dhar. Now, this book is what I like to call kind of a very Bollywood masala thriller. So basically, this book follows our main character as he's out on a date, and while he's out on the date, there is a sniper that attacks the mall that they are in. And this, our main character, I think used to belong to the army or something. So he's like trained to combat, he's trained in combat, and he's trained to like sort of fight and get involved with these attacks and stuff. And so once he gets involved, what he realizes is that the person that the sniper is after is actually him. And so then he gets involved in this like entire terror plot that this sniper has against Mumbai. And yeah, it's just all chaos from there. Like I mentioned, this book is like fully Bollywood masala. Like when I was reading this book, it actually felt like I was watching kind of like a Hrithik Roshan thriller movie. It's written in a very, very engaging and fun way. It's not by any means like good literature or like good writing. It's just a lot of fun, and it's like Bollywood masala. So go into it with that expectation, and I think you'll have a really fun time with this book. The next book that I want to talk about is Sadie by Courtney Summers. Now, this book has to be listened to as an audiobook because part of this book is basically Sadie's point of view, but the other part is a podcast. And the production value of this audiobook is phenomenal. The way that they have sort of produced the podcast part of this book is just, it's amazing. It feels like you're listening to an actual podcast. And if you like true crime podcasts like Serial and like those kind of podcasts, then you'll really, really enjoy listening to the audiobook of this book. Now, basically, this follows our main character, Sadie, as she's trying to find and take revenge on the person who killed her sister. This book is not a fun book to read. It covers a lot of very difficult and hard-hitting and heavy topics. Like it talks about abuse and sexual assault, and yeah, it's not like a fun, light, easy breezy sort of thriller. It's not. It's quite heavy, but it's just really, really well written. And like the audiobook completely sucks you in, and you cannot help but like listen to it in one go almost. Like, yeah, I was completely hooked by this book. I absolutely enjoyed listening to it. It was an amazing experience. And so if you haven't already read or listened to Sadie, then highly recommend. The next book that I want to talk about is Yellowface by Rebecca Kuang. Now, this book also isn't exactly a thriller, but it reads like a psychological thriller, and it's just quite gripping because of that. So this follows our main character, June, who wants to be a writer, and she's not a very good writer. One of her like friends, Athena, is a really like well-accomplished, amazing writer who's had quite a few like bestsellers. Now, June and Athena are hanging out one night, and Athena dies because of an accident. And so June kind of chance pe dance maraus and steals Athena's unfinished manuscript that she's working on. She finishes it for Athena and she publishes it using her name. So essentially, she steals Athena's work. And so then the kind of guilt that June feels, and also the backlash that she faces when people get to know what she has done, is what this book is about. I spoke about this book in another video where I said that I was kind of disappointed by it, and that is because I expect a lot of nuance when it comes to R.F. Kuang's writing. I know she is capable of so much more, and this book just felt a little shallow as compared to her other books that I have read. But without that expectation of having like extreme nuance and just like a very, very deep book from R.F. Kuang, if you keep aside that expectation, I think this book is very gripping. It is extremely easy to read. It reads like a psychological thriller, so you cannot put it down. And yeah, overall, this can be a really fun book to like dive into, especially like June's character is so like hateable. It's like you can hate read this book because you absolutely despise June. But yeah, overall it can be a very, very gripping read when you keep aside those expectations. The next book that I want to talk about is The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Now, this book is like an Agatha Christie closed door murder mystery case, but with a fantastic sci-fi fantasy twist. So basically, a bunch of people are invited for a party, and at that party, one guest, who is Evelyn Hardcastle, ends up dead. Now, the main character in this book has 7 days to figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle and why. And the twist is that at the end of each day that he doesn't figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle, the next day he will wake up in the body of another guest at that party. So basically, he's never in his own body. He's woken up in the body of one person. If he doesn't figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle, the next day he'll wake up in the body of another person, and then another person, and then another person, until he finally solves the case of who killed Evelyn Hardcastle and why. It's an absolutely wild ride to read this book. Like, it's insane. There are so many twists and so many turns, and it's like sometimes hard to keep up with what's going on because like there are so many crazy things that are happening in this book, and it's just a really, really fun and wild ride. The next book is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. This book basically follows a group of 7 friends who are attending this elite university where they are studying Shakespearean plays. So all of them are studying to become actors. And the premise of this book is basically that on one day, one of these 7 friends ends up dead. And our main character, who is in this book, who is one of the 7 friends, is charged with the murder of this boy. There is a police officer who is trying to figure out if this kid, who is the main character, actually did murder his friend, or what exactly happened that night among the 7 friends. The thing that I really liked about this book is that all of the characters in this book are extremely morally gray. They aren't very likable characters. In fact, they are quite like unlikable characters. They have so many issues and so many problems, but that's what makes this book so interesting. If you're into dark academia, definitely check this book out. And if you're into thrillers also, the murder mystery aspect of this is very good, but it's more about like the characters and the character development and all of those things. The next book that I want to talk about is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. Now, this book follows our main character who is a caregiver. She's a nurse, and she has been tasked to look after this old woman named Lenora Hope, who has been accused when she was younger to have killed her entire family. So her mother, brother, and her sister. Now, after the murders take place, Lenora basically gets a sort of disease that leaves her paralyzed and she can't talk. But when our main character comes to take care of her, Lenora finally feels ready to be able to tell her story. And the way that she's doing that is by like typing it out, because I think one side of her body is okay and only one side is paralyzed. And so she's typing out her story and finally telling what happened that night, the night that she was accused of killing her family. There are so many plot twists at the end that completely blew my mind. And overall, it was just like a very, like, you know, like the stories which are set in a creepy mansion with a lot of secrets and like you don't really know what's going on. There are a lot of like spooky things which are happening. It's that sort of vibe, plus with many plot twists and many turns along the way. So extremely enjoyable if you like those kind of thrillers. I had a really fun time reading this book. So yeah, check it out if you haven't. The next book that I want to talk about is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd by Agatha Christie. Now, how can I do a mysteries and thrillers video without mentioning the queen of mysteries, and that is Agatha Christie. Now, I've read a lot of Agatha Christie books, and especially like Hercule Poirot books. And basically, I've sort of now understood Agatha Christie's formula. And so a lot of these mysteries, I can guess about 70% of like the climax. I can sort of guess who the killer is going to be because they all follow a pretty like similar formula. But this one stumped me. Like, I couldn't figure out the ending at all. This was kind of like Murder on the Orient Express for me. Like, the ending was just like, I could not figure it out at all. If you like Agatha Christie, I think you'll really enjoy this book because, like I said, the ending was super shocking and I didn't see it coming. The next book that I want to talk about is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Now, this is another dark academia book, but this book has a fantasy mystery element to it. So this book takes place at Yale University, and at Yale University, there are a bunch of secret societies that practice dark magic rituals for certain things. Now, our main character, Alex, is a member of one of these secret societies, and her job is to make sure that the other secret societies basically stay above board. Basically, like no malpractices take place. Now, everything is going fine until a murder takes place, just like off campus or like on campus. Basically, a murder takes place, and Alex realizes that the secret societies are somehow involved in that murder. And so she goes on a mission to figure out exactly what's going on, and a bunch of like crazy wild things happen. This book was a little bit difficult to get into because the world building is a little bit intense, but once you figure out the world of these secret societies and the magic system, it's just a very, very immersive experience. There are also some really dark themes spoken about in this book, so please check the trigger warnings before you read it. Overall, a very, very immersive, a very, very engaging experience reading this book. The next book that I want to talk about is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Now, this book follows our main character, Dorian Gray, who has sold his soul to be able to retain youth and beauty. And basically, the moral corruption and the moral decline that Dorian Gray goes through because of this is what this book is about. Now, this book is a classic. And generally, I find classics to be a little tedious and boring to read, but that was not the case with this one. This one was quite engaging, and this one was really, really captivating. The writing is very rich, and it is like how classics are written, but because the story is so captivating, I just found this book very, very easy to read and very, very easy to get into. It's actually really captivating, and it's beautiful, beautiful writing, so check it out. The next book that I want to talk about is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. This book was so cute and so cozy and like such a fun murder mystery book. So this book follows 4 friends who live in a retirement village. So they're all like 80 years old. They're like grandparents. And they meet together like every Thursday to solve unsolved mysteries. Now they keep doing this until a real life mystery falls into their laps. And so now they are trying to solve a real life mystery alongside the police. It's just really cute. These 4 characters are so lovable. It's like you're reading about your grandparents as they're trying to solve a murder mystery. It's just really, really cute. Along with also like the mystery aspect of this was also really good. Like it kept me guessing, like I couldn't figure out exactly what was going on and who the murderer was going to be. So the mystery element of it was also like quite interesting, but the characters were so lovable and cute, and yeah, I just had a really, really fun time with this book. And the last book that I want to talk about is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I've spoken about this book many times on my channel. This book follows 2 strangers, Alex and Josie, who are birthday twins. They share the same birthday and they meet accidentally on their 45th birthday. Now, Alex is the host of a very, very successful podcast, and she has like a seemingly perfect life, whereas Josie has a lot of struggles in her life, in her marriage, and like, yeah, everything. Like she has a very, very difficult life. And so basically the strange turnaround of events that takes place when Alex decides to make Josie the main character and theme of her podcast, like everything that follows that is what this book is about. It is a total psychological thriller. Like the things that happen in this book will just blow your mind. This book is one of those where like, you know something bad is going to happen. Like, you know something really twisted and like creepy is going to happen. Like there's just like tension simmering at the surface. And then finally it does happen. And it's just like, it blows your mind. Like I could not put this book down. It sucked me in. I read it throughout a work day. Like I could not put it down even while I was working. And yeah, it was just a crazy twisted ride. So if you're looking for that kind of book, highly, highly recommend this one. It was just mind-blowing. So yeah, that was my video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give this video a big fat thumbs up. Leave a comment down below letting me know what are some of your favorite mystery thriller books. Let me know because I'd love to hear your recommendations. And of course, do subscribe to my channel for more book-related videos. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.